Yar! Today, we're going to be talking about the Sony ZV-E10. It's got some great features, but is it a great camera? Let's find out. Hey, true story, everybody. My first job was a professional pirate. When I was 15 years old, I was a laser tag pirate at a little theme park. It was pretty awesome. Hey everyone, welcome to Remain Wild. Today we are going to be taking a look at the brand new Sony ZV-E10. This will be my full review of the camera. I'll make sure to put links down in the description below as always, so you can go check out the camera if you're interested in buying it. Now, some have called the Sony ZV-E10 the successor to the Sony ZV-1, but is that truly the case? Is this the upgraded ZV-1? Now, I recently did a full comparison video of the two cameras, so be sure to check that out after this one. What I will say about this camera to start is it is a really cool camera packed with some really cool features. I think it's a great camera for those of you who want a capable vlogging camera and don't quite have the budget for one of the full frame Sony Alpha cameras like the a7S III or the new a7 IV. All right. Let's talk about the form factor. Now, this is marketed as a compact vlogging camera, and it truly is that. It's very lightweight, even with the attached kit lens or this 10 to 18 millimeter lens. Very, very lightweight. I have a aftermarket cage from Small Rig on it, and it's still a very lightweight package. So very easy to throw in your pack and carry around with you for your vlogs. It has a nice grip to it, and all the buttons and dials are laid out really nicely on it. Now, one of the main things that I really liked about the ZV-1, which this one also included, is the screen flips out to the side instead of up above, which was really annoying on some of the other cameras that we've seen. Basically, because if it flips up to the top and you want to put a light or a mic on top, now you're blocking the screen and you can't use it. It uses the old Sony NP-FW50 batteries, which you guys would probably know from some of the older cameras. You might have a bunch of them laying around in your kit already, so that's a plus, but they don't have the greatest battery life. So I kind of wish that they had included a larger battery to give us better battery life. That was one of the things that the ZV-1 lacked, which I was kind of hoping they were going to improve on this. But in order to keep it small and light, I guess we had to go with these small batteries. Kind of makes sense. It's a little bit of a trade-off. The batteries go here in the bottom battery bay, where you also have your slot for your SD card. On the side, there are actually two doors, a large one where you have a USB connection, a micro HDMI, and a headphone jack. That's awesome. We didn't have a headphone jack on the ZV-1, and I mean, it's nice to be able to monitor your audio, right? I mean, I like to hear what I'm recording. So, headphone jack, very cool. Above that is the mic input, which is pretty standard on most of these cameras. Another drawback to this camera is there's absolutely no weather sealing on it, so don't bring it out in the rain or any light mists. It might not survive. So I think the most notable feature about this camera that really makes it great and steps it up a little bit is the E-mount. You can now interchange your lenses. Like, this is the 10 to 18 millimeter lens because I wasn't crazy about the kit lens. I like that you can now put any Sony E-mount lens on here and you can swap lenses. When we had the ZV-1, we were stuck with that built-in lens, which wasn't terrible, but at least we have the option now to shoot with a wide variety of lenses. Now let's get into something that I wasn't crazy about when I bought this. This 16 to 50 kit lens. Why, Sony? Why? So one of the complaints that almost everybody had about the ZV-1 was that the built-in lens was a 24 to 70, which really wasn't that wide for vlogging, which is what all these people are buying the cameras for. So when Sony made a camera with a larger sensor, sounds great. They included a 16 to 50 millimeter lens. Sounds great. Now, when you multiply 16 to 50 by 1.5, that's 24 to 70 millimeters. Why? What? That was like the complaint. That was the issue that we had with the ZV-1. If there was one thing, you had one job, Sony, if there was one thing that should have been fixed, it was a wider focal length. Now, to add insult to injury, this lens is a 3.5 to 5.6. At least the 24 to 70 that we had on the ZV-1 was a 1.8 to 2.8, which was much better for low light and gave us much more shallow depth of field. Whatever, I guess you can't win them all. It's still an okay lens. I think you'll still be happy with the performance of it. I haven't had any issues using it. It's an okay focal length for vlogging around. I'll show you some example shots here. All right, now most of you are gonna be buying this with the kit lens, the 16 to 50 f3.5 to 5.6 lens. Just wanted to show you what that would look like vlogging around. I do have steady shot turned on to standard, and this lens also has the OSS built in. It's probably moving around a little bit because I'm not holding this as super steady as I could. But just wanted to give you an idea of what it would look like, what the field of view looks like on this lens. It's not nearly as wide as that 10 to 18 that I've been using and love, but it's a decent lens and it gives you a nice wide field of view, wide enough, I guess, for vlogging. And you guys be the judge. If you guys like this, then you might just be happy with the 16 to 50. What do I know? So there it is. So as you can see, not too bad. Definitely not wide enough for me personally, but you might be okay with it. That's why I picked up the Sony 10 to 18 f4, which I think is a much better lens for vlogging around. I did a full video about that. I'll put a link in the description below so you can check that one out. And if you are looking for something a little bit wider and a little bit better in low light, I think it's a great lens. This is with the 10 to 18 millimeter lens on it. I just like it because it gives me a little bit more of a wide field of view so you can really see around me. Overall, I think it's a pretty great vlogging camera. One other downside of this camera is there's no built-in ND filters. So you're gonna have to buy aftermarket ND filters, and I recommend this brand, Earth, is fantastic, okay? Earth makes great filters, and they plant trees for all the purchases that you make. I'll put links to these filters down in the description so you can go check them out and save the planet and have better looking footage because it's not all blown out. Okay, on the ZV-E10, you can record up to 30 frames per second in 4K and up to 120 frames per second in 1080. Now, because this has the same sensor in it as the A6000 series, it suffers from that same annoying rolling shutter effect. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, guys, here's a good demonstration of how the rolling shutter effect looks when you pan around. See how those vertical lines start to kind of sway left and right? That's rolling shutter, and that's no bueno. We don't like that. Now, for some of you might say, no big deal. I don't really do a lot of panning movements in my vlogs anyway, so big deal. Well, that's fine. This is still a great camera regardless of that. I still use it and I love it, but that might bother some of you if you do a lot of movements in your videos. Now, this camera also includes all of Sony's classic picture profiles. So for those of you who like to color grade your footage and have more control over the look of your footage, you got your picture profiles. Now, unfortunately, this does not have in-body stabilization. It only has digital stabilization, which is kind of a drawback. I wish they would have included some in-body stabilization like we saw in the ZV-1. But if you have a lens like this 10 to 18 or even the kit lens that comes with it, the 16 to 50, both those have optical stabilization built into them, so you can take advantage of the active stabilization. It's not the greatest that we've seen, but it'll do in a pinch. Now, this camera also takes some decent photos. Even though most of you are gonna be buying it as a video camera, you could take some decent stills with it as well. Oh man, look at that. How's that looking juicy 4K? It's a big one. I'm not even mad. Now, because of the aps-c size sensor in this camera, it's a little bit better in low light than something like the ZV-1. So if you want to see a full comparison of those two cameras head to head, click this video right here, drop me a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for stopping by.